listen, bro. If you have your reasons on why you don't want to be vaccinated, whether I agree with it or not, you're a grown man. Okay, fine. But there are consequences that come with that, unfortunately, that you're going to have to deal with, which is not being paid. So it's two dynamics here. Kyrie's decision on what he wants to do, and it goes back to the organization. The organization can't wait. Sean Marks' job is to do what's best for the organization in reasonable terms. Allowing Kyrie to be who he is, you can't force him to do anything. But at the same time, I got 14 other guys that I have to adhere to give them the best opportunity to win. And one guy, unless it's LeBron, can't out-Trump. If it's LeBron, it's a whole different conversation.
You think this is a conversation if it was KD?
Yeah.
Do you think they'd be doing the same thing if this was actually Kevin Durant?
No, I think it's be a different conversation. See, Kyrie's history also plays into this. You got to keep in mind, last year sitting out, personal issues, different things like that. It's not just one instant with Kyrie. The history of this young man causes people to pause a little bit more and maybe have some trepidation on making these decisions compared to a KD or a Harden who may take the same stance, but their past history doesn't dictate that they're going to take off. So you deal with them a little bit differently. But with Kyrie, because of that, they're looking at this, okay, how much more are we going to take? You know, from an organization. And that doesn't mean he's right, they're right, he's wrong. No. Kyrie has his stance, whether I believe in it or not. It doesn't matter. He has to deal with the ramifications of his decision. And if the organization says, because of the state rule, we don't want you half the time, it has a bigger impact short-term, long-term on our organization, then we can't have it.
So with that ruling, because they're deciding that they don't want them for the 50%,
right?
Don't they still have to pay them though?
No.
Why?
Because what they're doing is, because the ruling is they're not going to pay him for his home games.
Yes.
They're going to pay him for his away games.
Okay, so he gets paid for the away games.
He gets paid
even though they don't want him.
It's their decision.
Okay.
So they're not, because he didn't adhere, and they're real specific, because he didn't adhere to the mandatory mandate of taking a shot to play at home, we can fine him. He'll still get paid if he plays on the road. So that's why they can't, and they're not taking that away.
But they just said he's not allowed to play on the road, right?
Right, but they're not going to.
But they can't fine him.
But they're going to pay him.
Oh yeah, I mean, then that right. See, that's the problem. Right there, they lose.
Who is they?
The organization.
How?
Because you're paying, like, he already made his decision that he wasn't playing at home when he didn't want to take the vaccine. Now he gets to sit.
But here's the difference, though. They're not going to. He made his decision he didn't want to play at home. He didn't say he didn't want to play.
Yeah, he didn't say.
Okay, so now, no, we're not taking half. Either you go play or you're not.
Okay, but you not take half though if you think that that's going to give you the best chance to win the championship.
No. But look, but think about it from a player standpoint. I know I wasn't going to play home games, right?
But you knew.
But I was going to play. I was going to play road games. Now you're saying, well, we don't want you on the road either.
Right.
But we're still going to give you your check.
Yeah. But you still losing out as a player because you still want to hoop. But do you still want to hoop? No, I get your point about getting paid, but it goes beyond that in this aspect. You're a hooper. Your passion is to play. Yeah, you're gonna get paid, but wouldn't you rather be playing too?
Yeah, but you got to think about it. It's still chess. So who falters first?
It won't be the organization.
It has to be.
How?
Because you're not going to win a championship with just two.
You don't know that.
KD and Harden can't win a chip.
Hold up. I'm gonna say this. Keep in mind, Phoenix doesn't get to where they got to if you don't have injuries with the Clippers and the Lakers. Okay? Stuff happens in the Eastern Conference. With Brooklyn, Milwaukee may not get there. So we don't know how the story ends at the end of the season because of these factors. Okay? Now, one of the best, I think, rosters put together is Brooklyn. With the pieces they surrounded the superstars with. Now, without Kyrie, is it going to be more of a challenge? Yeah. But come June or playoffs, we don't know who's healthy. What if Brooklyn is the healthiest team? Lakers have their issues, Milwaukee have their issues. They're sitting there so we don't know yet. That's what I'm saying.
But do you take that risk? I don't know if I take that risk because you got to remember, Kyrie, he alters the game because he's a juggernaut one-on-one player. So when you're in half-court situations, you can rely on him to get better shots than James Harden.
Okay, how about this? Last year, out of, I think, 3,900 minutes, they played 202 minutes and still got together as a threesome and still got to the Eastern Conference Final.
Oh, no, that was nice.
Okay, so let's forget the history.
Yeah.
202 minutes. Their depth in rebounding wasn't as good as it is now. But yet and still, they were there to compete and beat Milwaukee to get to the final. So you don't think management is looking at this and said, who's the most expendable player out of these three? Okay, so history tells us that if we have these two here, along with a built-out roster, we still have a viable chance to get to the final. Now, whether we win it, we don't know. But can we get there in the Eastern Conference with a James Harden and a Kevin Durant in this retool roster? If I'm the management, I say yes. But I'm not going to stop that train. Kyrie, you got to make a decision, bro. If you don't want to play, you don't want to get vaccinated, I'm not going to make you. But I don't want you halftime. I don't want you half the time because now it's a chemistry issue. We got stuff going on. What if, Patty Mills is playing great, but we go on the road and Patty Mills can't really play. We lose the game. Kyrie didn't play well. Then he comes back home. Patty Mills is playing great. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know how it is. You got that dynamic. And quiet as kept, that might be one of the best offseason pickups now.
Yes, it was. It was nice.
It seemed, at the time, it was like, it's great, it's cool, back up for...
So what's the funniest, I have a relationship with Ben Simmons now.
Yeah.
And, Elton Brand and them. So I'm in the middle on both sides. And, I'm a player. So, when it comes to the player part, I say this. I said, Ben is quiet. You know what I mean? Ben just wants to hoop. Ben works out every day, 2-3 times a day. Like, I watch him work out.
Right.
He can actually shoot the ball. He has great form and everything. So you sit there and say, why aren't you shooting?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And as a player, it's like, well, is it this? He's not saying the system, but I know it's the system. It's the system itself. You got to put someone in the situations to be great. So I'm sitting here like, well, how come we don't put him in? Why you don't put him in pick and rolls at the elbow? If everyone's gonna sag, set the pick and roll right there. People don't understand. John Stockton didn't shoot. He didn't shoot. He set the pick and roll right there at the free throw line. Everybody's like, how do you get the free throw line? Because everybody's backing up.
Yep.
They set the little pick and roll. If he can shoot a 15-footer.
Yep.
If not, you hit Karl Malone. So I said, there's there's plenty of situations where you can make him feel great. You can drop him. You can put him at the elbow. You can play him how he wants to be played. But when you come out, I think, let's just say it, Doc messed up. When, he said, I don't think he's a winning guy. You got, as a player who, comes in there and we play hard, we do this, and you're going to say, you don't think you can win a championship with me, right? You don't think you can win a championship with me? All right, cool. Right. So, all right, I'm just going to train, and y'all going to trade me, and y'all do all this, and you don't trade me. Like, when I come back into this locker room, how this going to work? Yeah. Because, I'm speaking to, what do y'all expect when Ben comes here? Like, y'all just gonna get there, like, oh, yeah, you know what you said, never mind, what's happening? Right. Like, y'all think that's really gonna happen to him? That's like going back to jail. Like, that's like going back to jail. Like, the city don't want him, the city's already against him, the players looking at him sideways. So, what do you think is gonna actually happen? What is the benefit? That he's gonna average 20, 10, and 10, and y'all gonna get some trade? Because I'm sure if he's averaging 20, 10, and 10, you're not gonna wanna trade him. At that point, it's like, at this point, you have to trade him, right? You have to trade him. You're only gonna get 50% because everybody knows you gotta trade him. Yep. So it's like, so what is the benefit of him? Like, when he's actually going back, what do you get out of it?
Yeah, and it's a tough situation because from the business perspective, Morey has to get what he can for Ben. You can't allow that prized possession to get away from you without getting some kind of value. You're not going to get equal value unless you get Dame Lillard. Okay, unless you get that.
But I evaluate like this. I was always taught when you look at game, look at positions, right?
Right.
So I have a 6'10" player that can play 9 positions, meaning he can play all 5 on defense, 4 on offense, point, 3, 4, 5. I don't know if I want to trade him just for a straight up guard.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's how I was like, I have a 9-position player, which is rare. How am I I might get a better score, but I lose everything else. I lose everything else, and I don't know if that's a real value of work.
But on you got to think about it too from a perception perspective and what they can get. It's a win.
Yes.
Rather than having a trade for, and this is not anything on CJ. CJ is some draft picks. That right there. No, seriously. And how good CJ is. But a standalone, it doesn't make sense. So from the organization perspective, they still got time until February to the trade deadline to figure this thing out. From Ben's perspective, I just don't listen, Rich Paul, I know he laid the groundwork so Ben can understand what you gain and what you lose by doing this. Once you take that stance and you draw the line in the sand, that's it. Okay? Going back in, I'm trying, and again, I don't know the conversations. I don't know what's going on why he chose. And I've heard the Sixers thought that he would be coming back to the facility later this week. He came back early. What the mindset is, because no matter what, at the end of the day, it's always been some contention in the locker room between Joel and Ben from day one. It's always been there because the styles kind of clash. So they've been dealing with this for quite some time. This is not a new thing. It's just now that it's expanded a lot more because of what happened last year in the playoffs. How they coordinate that locker room is important because in the East right now, bro, the Charlottes, the Chicagos, those Indiana, those are not easy wins now. So you can't start off bad if you're Philly, if you want to be in the top 6 so you avoid the playoff. So now the pressure is on. If they start to win without Ben, there's really not that much pressure. But if they start to lose without him and start to fall further down the ladder of the Eastern Conference, it's more pressure on them to make a deal. So we got to see how this thing is going to play out.
What's so funny is, as a player, that was my conversation.
Right.
Players gonna always kind of hint like, what would you do, right? And listen, I don't know what I do because I'm not in your situation.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? All I can say is this: if we're playing chess, you don't really have to move your piece right now. It's not necessarily your move; it's theirs, because their first 5 games they should go at least 4-1. Their toughest matchup is the Nets. If they don't go 4-1, I mean, they look bad. Not necessarily you. You're gonna if they win without you, it's gonna we don't need Ben, blah blah blah. If they lose, it becomes we need to get something for him now. So it's basically whoever's willing to hold out. But at the end of the day, do you really want to just let them take your money for no reason?
See, and
that's what they're playing on.
Exactly. And here is the dilemma. Are you willing, for what you stand on, to sacrifice not getting paid? At the end of the day, forget everything else. You can say all of what your beliefs are, blah, 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 blah. End of the day, it's going to come down to, are you willing not to get paid? To stand on what your principles are. And I go back to it, it sounds great before it happens. But that 8.3 that he was supposed to get, he ain't getting it. The money that he's going to get per game right now for missing out, he's not getting it. So how long are you willing to deal with that and how comfortable you are, even though you got money in the bank? But that's money you're not getting and you're not getting it back. And that's the dilemma that until you actually go through it and are in that situation and have to make that decision. Now, it comes back to this too. If Ben comes back, kind of like Kyrie, the narrative is, you came back for the money. Wiggins, well, I heard what you said, bro, but you ain't want to lose that $17 million either.
Yeah, it's. I mean, listen.
17 mil?
What I'm saying is playing in a place that you don't want to play. I don't see no benefit because his value's not going to go up. Nobody's gonna be like, you know what? I'm seeing Ben Simmons today and he's looking great. Let me give you the house. No, you're gonna get pennies on dollars. You're gonna get 50% at best for him. So there's no play that he's gonna be doing that his value's gonna go up. So at this point, it's, do you go there, pick your check up, calf injury, ankle injury. You can't play. I'm hurt. You can't find him.
Okay, but would you Okay, and again, here's
I'm
the
hurt.
Now, but Ben is a different cat in regards to mentality, okay, and how public perception may affect him. You a different dude, I'm a different dude. It's a different way we may approach it. Like, hey, bro, I've been in a situation where I lost money, and I didn't care because my principle to me was more important. You know, I was going from Houston to New Orleans, and I was like, man, I ain't going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you mean you're not going? I said, no, I ain't going to New Orleans. I ain't had no leverage. I ain't had no leverage at all. And Jeff, I'm on the phone. They're like, you mean? I said, bro, Byron Scott, the GM, called me, happy to have you in New Orleans. I said, no, you're not. I said, I'm not coming. They said, what do you mean? I said, listen,